Hello, everyone. It's been a while, and I do apologize for that. I will explain why at the end of this video. But unfortunately, I've come back out of the rock I was hiding under because we got some bad news, and that is that Platinum's most recent game, it might be flopping. And we're talking about Babylon's Fall, of course. I say of course, but I feel like this game just has not really had much marketing. I think that this is one of the many reasons why this game might not be doing very well. If we look at our Metacritic scores, they're not good. Looks like we're somewhere in the 40s. Steam numbers were not very good either. I believe when the game first launched, it was a concurrent player base of 900, somewhere around 1,000, under 1,000, not very good at all. Especially when you consider the fact that Babylon's Fall is intended to be, the dreaded live service game. But what does that really mean? Let's analyze that a little bit. Babylon's Fall, it's a cooperative game. You play with friends, and you go through levels together. It's an action game, and in some ways you could compare it to Platinum's other games. I've played the demo for this game, and, I like Platinum games, but this really couldn't hold my attention. And there's one really big reason for that. And that's honestly just that I don't really enjoy action games that are structured in this manner, where you have these repetitive missions and, you've got 8,000 things on the screen, you've got your daily rewards. I don't really enjoy games that basically function like MMOs, and I don't really play MMOs either, so that's very much a me preference, because there are people who like things like this. I don't even like Monster Hunter. Like, if I'm being honest, I can't really get into Monster Hunter, partially because of the way the game is designed in that sense. So, unfortunately, right out the gate, the way that this game is structured is not my cup of tea, and that's why I couldn't really get into it. But the action combat in this game, I would describe as disappointing. There's no reason to discount this as being a minor effort, because we have people who've worked at Platinum for a while leading this. The director of this game has been working at Platinum. He directed Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, which is a game that some people really love. I think it's pretty good. And he also directed the Transformers Devastation title, which we talked about in our video a while back. I mean, not the best game in the world, but easily the best of those 3 Activision games. And it has fun combat. So I expected this to really make a lot more sense. I played the demo. I don't own the game, but there is a demo, and I encourage you to try the demo for yourself. And maybe you'll feel differently. But it's kind of decelerated. The pacing of it feels off as far as your flow in combat, and it kind of feels like a lot of your attacks don't have much stopping power at all. Enemies have a lot of armor, like you hit them and they take damage, but they don't react. They really want to push you into using the super moves that you have, basically. And yeah, I don't know, I just couldn't really get into it. I don't hate the art design, but at the same time, it feels kind of generic. And when I say that, I'm just talking about the models, because the actual textures are terrible. This game looks worse than something like Dragon's Dogma, which is much older, and their attempt at having a painterly look with all these filters, it's downright hideous. Not only that, I think it goes against some of the ethos that Platinum Games has had for a long time, which is that even though there are a lot of flashy things happening, there needs to be legibility. You need to be able to see what's happening. You can't have things flying in from off the screen that you couldn't have seen happen that hurt you. That's stuff that they've taken into consideration in other titles. But these effects that are on the screen all the time, which apparently looked worse in the game's beta, it looks really ugly, and I just can't. I don't want to put my eyes through that. So, yeah, well, I obviously haven't played enough of the game to really say whether or not the review scores are justified. I mean, it didn't make a good first impression, and that's really a shame. Because I like Platinum. I did a whole video talking about, I guess some people would consider Platinum's lowest point. Maybe. And here we are now, where I was hoping that they've been working hard. They've been doing some titles that I've really enjoyed. I was hoping that this game would be a lot better than it is, because to me it's like, I'm going to just ignore this. It's a real shame. And I worry because it sort of leads into two other things, which I suppose we'll talk about. First of all, this was published through Square Enix, which Platinum has worked with before, and it's hard to know how much Square Enix was involved in this, or whose fault this is, as if it's one person's fault. Because, yeah, they have been pushing live service games to some degree. And even without that element of it's got to be a game that you can play forever kind of thing, it doesn't really have an ending. You just do missions over and over again. Even without that, they've been making a lot of really questionable financial decisions. The amount of games that Square has dropped that have been either critically terrible and thus don't sell well, or they actually are good games, but they still have problems. They either don't hit the targets or they didn't market them. That's pretty incredible to me. It's incredible how Square Enix doesn't seem like they know what they're doing anymore with that stuff. It's not to say the whole company is floundering, because it clearly isn't. But especially after you had that Avengers game a year or two ago, which is still going, they're still trying to make that work. But they admitted to losing a lot of money, like tens of millions of dollars on it. I would think that they would want to do everything they can to make sure that Babylon's Fall doesn't launch and have basically no players, and then that's it. Because games like this, if people aren't playing them, no one will buy them because there's no one to play with, because these games are often very unfun or basically unplayable by yourself. And you certainly can't play them forever. And if there's no one to play them, there's no new content to make, there's no new content to sell, and that's important to the survival of games like this, and indeed any game that has ever made any kind of comeback. Final Fantasy XIV, there were people playing it in its original form who believed in it. And if those people didn't exist, they would not have done the work to basically remake that game. No Man's Sky, if people were not still buying that game, they wouldn't keep making free content for it, improving the quality, which then creates the feedback loop of more people buying it. And so that's the thing, is I don't think there's any game where it outright bombs and then magically comes back. I just don't think that happens. Obviously, some success has to be had to keep it going, unless you're just shoveling money into an incinerator, which maybe is happening right now. I mean, we're talking about Square Enix, which is a company that historically has wasted a lot of money. I mean, you guys seen the Final Fantasy movie? They spent a lot of money making that. So, yeah, the publisher on one end, I just don't know what they were thinking. I don't know whose idea it was to release this now. Like, you're going to release this game within like a week or two of Elden Ring? Come on. I mean, they look kind of similar. You're going to confuse people, and everyone is excited for Elden Ring. Like, there's a lot of hype for that game, for obvious reasons. So, in addition to Square, yeah, we have to talk more about Platinum themselves, because there was a remark going around right before this game launched that some people are nervous about, because Platinum, they are expanding as a company. They've gotten more money, investment money, and they've talked about how they are considering moving away from smaller, leaner games to games that are much larger, that take more time to play. And a lot of people interpret that as they're going to make more games like Babylon's Fall, a game where quality may be sacrificed in favor of longevity. It's a very common criticism you have of AAA games. And I understand why people are concerned about it, but if I'm being honest, Platinum's already released games that, in my opinion, do this. And I talked about that in the video, because Nier Automata and Astral Chain, I think, take longer to get through than your average Platinum game. There's stuff to explore. They're not so linear. There's side quests and things like that. They're more like action-adventure games than straight action. And that's a distinction that's worth making here. So I think Platinum could very well make games that take longer to complete, but they can also do that without making games like Babylon's Fall. And we don't know whose idea it was to do this with Babylon's Fall. I'm sure Platinum wanted to experiment with this format just as much as Square Enix was hoping to get some money out of this format. But it's also possible Babylon's Fall was just envisioned as like a 4-player Platinum game, and then the decision was made later to have it be the way it is. I don't know. And I'm not really super interested in determining who made that decision. It just seems that right now it's not paying off, because out the gate, nobody really wants to play this. So my hope now is just that this doesn't result in problems for Platinum economically, because I feel like this is not going to be financially successful. And if lots of money was spent setting up the teams that were tasked with working on this, that's not good. That could cause problems for other games that they're developing. And so hopefully this doesn't really define their year. Bayonetta 3 is allegedly coming out this year, and I'm very excited to see how that's going to play. I don't expect it to be like the first two. I expect to see changes, and I'm excited for that, because I think change is good. I think change is mandatory. If you just want to play the same kinds of games over and over again, you don't need to buy new games. So I don't have a problem with Platinum wanting to make changes. But if this is the kind of change that's coming, I understand why people are worried. My hope is just that the other teams working on stuff, they have better ideas. So it kind of sucks that this is what's happening with Babylon's Fall. It is frustrating to see, but I go with my gut. And my gut was telling me that Babylon's Fall is a game that I would not enjoy whatsoever in its current form. And so I can't really disagree with the reception that it's getting. And I haven't seen anyone talk about this game. Like, no one has it. I don't know anyone with it. Yeah, it just seems like we're out here dropping games that nobody's playing. Not great. Get well soon, Platinum. I guess that's how I can end the video. Yeah, so it's been a little while since I've done a video. As I mentioned, I kind of went on a little bit of a hiatus because I was moving, and so I needed to focus on that. That move was completed a while ago, obviously. I said I was working on a video that I thought would be out soon, and the reason that video is not out is because I got busy with work. Work has really picked up for me, but it's work that I enjoy doing, and I'm happy to be putting a lot of time into it. So I want to get the video out because I don't want to be backed up. Like, if something else happened, or like if a game came out that I was like, wow, I really do want to have to do I'm going to do a longer video on this. If that happened, I don't want to get backed up with projects. So I'd like to get this video off of my plate and get it out there for people to enjoy, because I still think it's a fun video. I just sort of underestimated how long writing the script might take. And in fact, there's definitely a part of me that wants to kind of reevaluate how I go about doing the script writing process for these videos, how I structure my videos, because maybe there's a better way on my end of doing that. And it's also why I'm kind of trying to pick games that there's different things to talk about. And unfortunately with this particular game, while there are different things to talk about, unfortunately it falls into some of the other traps that I have when writing scripts. Not to say I have problems with the videos I've made in the past, because I like my videos. I was really happy with the Platinum Games video, and I like doing that Star Fox one because that was different. That one felt different from some of the other ones I'd done. So that just might determine the nature of some of the games or videos that I do going forward. And in fact, there's a video I've kind of wanted to do for a little while now. It's kind of a joke video. This would be a real review, but it would be probably the most absurd game that I've done. And so that would be a great chance to practice it. So my hope, I'm not going to make a roadmap, not falling into that trap, but my tentative hope is at some point I can get this video out sooner than later. Then I'll maybe try doing that other video as a joke, unless something else comes along that I'm more interested in. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to do. I want to get this off my plate, get it out there for people to enjoy. No, the channel has not been abandoned or anything like that. If I was legitimately doing that, I would inform people. Even now, without that many subscribers, I would take the time to do that. So thanks for watching. Have a great day.